modernization and the growth of radical political movements led progressive reformers and even some more conservative politicians to broaden their notion of the responsibility of the state in regulating the economy, mediating social conflict, and promoting minimal standards of well-being. Still, until the 1930s, the federal government stayed modest in size, administrative capacity, and penetration into the daily routines of American life. The New Deal changed that, and did so quickly. In 1930, the federal government had 860,000 employees and a budget of $3.3 billion. 10 years later, it had 1.5 million employees and spent $9.6 billion. By then, it had become intricately involved in everything from collective bargaining and old age pensions to housing construction, the arts, and fighting crime. Almost every county in the country had a new public works project, a school, hospital, courthouse, post office, park, road, or dam, funded by Washington. The swelling size and scope of government came in large part in response to the Great Depression. During Roosevelt's presidency, the federal government hired millions of unemployed, propped up prices and incomes, lent money to keep businesses afloat and homeowners from defaulting on mortgages, and rescued and reformed the banking system. With conservative political and business elites discredited by the economic debacle, reformers had the opportunity to carry out previously blocked plans, including offering subsidies to farmers, creating the Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA, and more actively regulating Wall Street. Under pressure from popular movements of the left and right, Washington established a limited welfare state. The Social Security Act created a national pension system, unemployment insurance, and welfare programs for the dependent poor. The National Labor Relations Act, commonly known as the Wagner Act, protected the rights of workers to join a union and engage in collective bargaining. The Fair Labor Standards Act established a national minimum wage and limited working hours. An electoral realignment accompanied the expansion of the state. By the mid-1930s, a new coalition had emerged in support of Roosevelt. It included immigrants and their children, African Americans, organized labor, big city democratic machines, farmers, small businessmen, some corporate leaders, and, at least tacitly, elements of the socialist and communist left, whose influence exceeded their small size. The Roosevelt administration also benefited from solid Democratic control of the South. Powerful though it was, the New Deal coalition stopped winning major reforms well before the Depression ended. Southern Democrats grew fearful that the extension of federal power into localities would threaten the racial order, while urban politicians fretted that New Deal networks outside their control would undermine local party organizations. As many voters grew disenchanted with the growing size of the government and Roosevelt's failure to bring about sustained economic recovery, anti-New Deal business leaders mobilized through trade associations and the Republican Party. From 1938 on, a stalemate developed in Congress between two blocs, one of pro-New Deal liberals, largely in the Democratic Party, and the other anti-New Deal conservatives, which joined Republicans with Southern Democrats. Just as the New Deal reached its seeming limits, war brought a further expansion of the state. In 1945, the federal government spent 10 times what it had in 1939. While fighting raged across the globe, federal presence deepened in everyday life, as Washington regulated prices and wages, rationed consumer goods, controlled transportation, allocated raw materials, built factories, pipelines, and military bases, carried out a military draft, and held, without trial, thousands of citizens in internment camps. To finance the swollen state sector, Washington undertook massive borrowing and revamped the tax system. Prior to the war, only the wealthy paid income taxes. During it, Congress drastically lowered the cutoff for income tax exemption so that middle and working-class families had to pay federal taxes as well. Filing income tax returns became a yearly national ritual, reminding income earners of the extent and cost of federal power. Federal growth evoked less controversy during World War II than during the New Deal, since the state expanded to wage a war that most Americans supported. Still, the backlash against the New Deal continued. Business leaders, widely blamed for the economic ills of the 1930s, found their social standing and political influence re-elevated as the Roosevelt administration turned to them to lead the defense mobilization. By contrast, reformers found their influence diminished by the priority given to war needs and an increasingly conservative Congress. The Union movement provided something of a countervailing force, growing during the war to 14